So just doing a quick video. It's the 1st of May and wow, what a breakout on this S&P 500. Doesn't look sustainable at all, but who would have thought that this would just go up in a straight line? I certainly didn't expect it to go up just straight like this, and never even looked like it was going to reverse. There's not one red candle there from the beginning to the end. So now look where the Kijunsen is down here. I thought the Kijunsen might have turned up and gone along with price when it broke out, but it's looking awfully flat here. And look how far it is from the 100 MA here. Whenever you see that, it's usually a sign of trouble waiting to happen. But the forces that are driving the market at the moment are certainly, I don't think we've seen anything like this in history, so really you can't sort of compare it to what's happened before, because we really haven't got any precedent for what's happening at the moment, with just a disjoint from reality completely. I mean, this is like they've whether they've done a covert QE program or something and didn't tell anyone, just told the big institutions to take this money and plough it into the market or whatever. It looks like that to me. It looks like they've reinvented QE here, 2019, like they did in 2016. They've just said, we're going to have a covert QE program and we're going to drive this thing up on just nothing but an injection of liquidity. They've told them, buy your stocks back, we'll give it to you, we'll give you the money for free. Go in and buy back your stocks, and retail traders are not the slightest bit interested. So this is very unusual for these sort of markets to have such a low participation from retail traders. To sort of to say it's the most hated bull market is an understatement. And they're calling this a bear market rally. Well, I don't believe this is a bear market rally. It's not, now that it's broken out of the top of this resistance here. You can't call it a bear market rally now. But what it looks like to me is a false breakout because of where the Kijunsen is. But we've got to look for a reversal back below this. This is now what was resistance, now becomes support. So the way it's looking at the moment, there's no sign of it slowing down. What could be the catalyst is anyone's guess, but so you can't really make assumptions about where it's going to go in 6 months' time. It's not what charts are not about predicting the future. All you're doing with charts is looking at where price is and acting accordingly. It's not about forecasting or predicting anything. It's nothing to do with it. So as long as it's above the trender, then it's bullish, right? That's all you can say. So VIX is coiling up here on the 4 hour. On the daily, it's just, the daily is just sitting, the daily MACD's up now, but as I say, I like to see the daily MACD above the centre line before we get too much action in volatility, and therefore you don't tend to see a sell-off in stocks when the MACD is below the centre line on the VIX. So this has got quite a bit of work to do. This did rally here a bit, but it stayed below the centre line, so we did have a little sell-off in stocks back here in March, but nothing didn't ever got above the centre line here, so it certainly was nowhere near going above the Kumo on the VIX. So this would have a few weeks of work to get really going and start showing some signs that stocks might sell off. But junk bonds are still holding up too, so if junk bonds started to break, then I'd say, but look at the Kijunsen also on junk bonds, it's dead flat here. I thought this might have turned a bit, but still quite sort of, I thought when this stochastic turned a bit it might sort of come off a bit, but it's just kept on going through. So, but look how far the 100-day MA is from price. It's just unbelievable. But so So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, how this plays out. Is it, the old saying was sell in May and go away and come back after St. Leger's Day. Well, that's sort of pretty much doesn't really exist anymore, but I mean, people still talk about it, but the markets have certainly changed since those days now with intervention, central bank interventions and whatever. You really can't sort of say May's going to be a sell-off anymore, but we'll see what happens. But it's still a psychological thing with some traders, but Nasdaq is really strong with that massive rally here. Never broke the trend from early March to the start of May. Never broke that trend there, and this was look at the flat Kijunsen here again. I thought the Kijunsen was attempting to rally up, but on this breakout the Kijunsen's gone dead flat, so that's a pretty good sign that we're going to see a false breakout here. It's not guaranteed to be a false breakout, but it'd certainly be that's what my analysis is telling me at this time, that it looks like a false breakout, but you've got to be confirmed. You can't anticipate what it is. You've got to wait till it's confirmed. Look at that red volume there. That red volume there, but it was a bit of a consolidation here, but the red volume there is a sign of maybe it's getting overextended, perhaps. And Apple, I just sold out of all my Apple calls ahead of the earnings here, so it'll be really interesting to see what the earnings like on Apple. With the Kijunsen's turned down, but doesn't necessarily mean price will turn down, but it's certainly an interesting how it found resistance at the top of the Kumo there, and it didn't break out. You see that a lot, and that's now an inside weekly candle there ahead of earnings. So look at the volume there, people getting out ahead of the earnings announcement there. That's what everyone does, they bail out ahead of the earnings and get back in. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And oil's in this daily range, what I was talking about on my previous video. So look at that, interesting how that hit the 100 MA on the 4 hour, and my trender right on the button there, the body of the candle ended right on that resistance there, which is, I see so many times. I see this. Let's just gem this. I made this indicator myself out of put these settings on here myself. It's been phenomenal. It's given me so much success, and I'm really happy with how it's working. And the MACD, you can see the force of the daily MACD. It's above the Kijunsen still, but the MACD is crossed down, so that's ranging, and you can see the force of that range is acting on price here as well. So looks like it could be heading down to test this support here now at 62.78, which is, or it could, it's looking like it's going to come down to the Kijunsen perhaps, or it could just test this support here. It's hard to say yet, but it's certainly typical of a range, and it's very interesting to see how that played out. But and Bitcoin weekly and the daily. Weekly is looking like it's turning over. This is typical of a counter trend. This is a counter trend on the weekly at the moment, and it's typical of a counter trend. We never got really all this FUD with the tether fiasco and whatnot. If Tether blows up, that'll be a real setback for if Tether was to be proven to be a scam or something, then it could be a real, really send shockwaves through the whole crypto space. So I don't know what's going on with that just yet, but it looks like the days are running out for Tether. I always said Tether's going to be a huge problem when if it's ever exposed to be a scam, like a lot of people have said it was, then it's going to cause a huge lack of confidence across the space. So that was pretty much what caused this. Tether FUD was pretty much what caused this sell-off here in Bitcoin, because I won't go into the details of it, but there's plenty of people talking about it on YouTube. So, but look how far it is from the 100 MA as well. So I'd like to see it really sell off, and I don't really think that. I don't know, but if price drops back below the weekly trend here, then the rally's over. The rally's over for the short term. I always said this. I said that cryptos are only for short-term trading, not for buy and hold. All these people that bought and held in 2017 just got lucky, and not to say that they will again. They're trying to think they were traders, but not necessarily. Just because you got lucky once doesn't make you a trader, and a lot of people are finding out the hard way now. So anyway, so look at that, how the daily MACD showed that this was a false breakout here according to the daily MACD, and it turned out to be correct. And this, I'm looking for this now to fail. This support here at about, on my trender at about 5,000, if that's a psychological level there, 5,000. If that fails, then most likely coming back to the 100 MA, which is it tried to hold on here for weeks and weeks and weeks. It tried to hold this trender here, and boom, she just broke down the trender, and then it didn't start to break above the trender until here in March. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And that's about it for now. And I'm very tired. Alright, bye for now.